Hello guys and welcome back to The Apprentice, and we are at the finale, and I gotta say this finale was a little bit unpredictable but also at the same time incredibly predictable, and I don't know whether that's because I already knew who was going to win going into the show, like into this episode I mean, or whether it was like, I don't know, there just felt something missing from the whole process. But I gotta say, both candidates actually did a very, very good job in the final challenge. And I actually really liked that they invited some of the contestants back, but we'll get into that in a little bit. First, I just want to thank you guys very, very much for all the support on the channel at the moment. You guys are absolutely smashing it. I won't harp on for too long, but just make sure you're subscribing. We're trying to get to 900 and then 1,000. So keep on pushing, keep on going. We will get there. But yeah, thank you very much, and let's get into the video. So, as I mentioned, some of the previous contestants came back to help them out with their, basically, propositions. There were some notable people missing. Noor didn't come back. Onyeka didn't come back. Jack. I can't remember the Amira, was it? Was that her name? The guy who went out first, whose name I genuinely can't remember. The guy who was dumb, the doctor, the very dumb doctor. But yeah, on the whole, everyone came back and everyone seemed in good, positive energy and vibes, and it did actually lift the episode up a little bit. I was concerned that it would be a bit boring without, like, most of the cast there, especially since, like, Trey and Flo and even like Mora, they've just been lifting the show up with their energy. And I think, unfortunately for Rachel and Phil, they're two of them, like, candidates who have like the least amount of energy in them, if that makes sense. So the teams were as follows. Rachel had Sam, Flo, Trey, Mora and Steve. I actually thought that was a very, very strong team, if I'm being 100% honest. And then Phil had both Pauls, Paul B and Paul, Dentist Paul, the Paul. Then also had Verdi, Felicia and Raj. I don't know why he decided to choose Verdi, because I'm not being funny, Verdi is horrific. He was horrendous in the competition. Why would you choose him second? It makes no sense, especially when you got people like Trey and Flo that you could have picked, who are genuinely good at business and would have really, really helped you out. Oh my god, that was the bit that was stressing me out the most, because I was like, oh my god, you picked one of the weaker candidates second. What's going on, Phil? What's going on? So I will actually start by talking with Rachel's team, and I think Rachel's team was definitely the stronger team out of the candidates that she chose. I think it was a little bit telling that she chose the people who she thought were the strongest. She chose Sam because she's got a fitness background and therefore is going to be really helpful in developing a fitness brand. We've got Flo, who is just good at business. Trey, good at business. Mora, very energetic and will get stuff done. And Steve, who she's worked with loads, she knows him. And it's very, very clear that she picked the strongest people before Phil could. And Phil was just choosing, like, random people. But obviously, I guess people that he's worked with before. But, like, oh, yeah, it was starting to, like, really stress me out. Anyway, Rachel was waffling about the features in her gym, and when it came time for her, Steve and Mora, no, it wasn't Steve, Mora and Flo? I think it was Flo, Mora and herself. They went off and, like, designed the logo, came up with a name for the company. They chose Studio Build. Now, what's my problem with Studio Build, may you ask? Pretty much everyone else's problem with the name. It does sound a little bit like a construction company, and they didn't really help themselves with the logo because it looked a little bit bland. It also looked a little bit eh. And then they decided to put like a sweat droplet in the O of studio, but it does just kind of look like a water droplet, and now it kind of looks like a builder's merchant or like a plumbing company. So I don't know. I just feel like maybe build wasn't the right word for it. Maybe like studio fit or studio fitness or something like that. I like the idea of studio being like the first word, but I'm not sure that build was the correct second word, because it does seem a little bit misleading. Just a little bit. Just a touch. But I thought that the logo was simple, but it was kind of effective. I thought it looked nice, at least. I just did feel like there needed to be a little bit more colour. Originally, it was just going to be black. And then I was like, no, please add some colour. Because no one's going to pay attention to your bland, boring black logo. Like, what's going on there? But unfortunately, she did sort it out. And she did, like, colour it up a little bit. Then they went on to build the gym in the metaverse, which is still a little bit of a what to me, but essentially they made like a video game version of it in order to show prospective people what it would look like. I gotta say, it looked really cool, and I think this was actually the thing that made me go, okay, Rachel's probably got this in the bag, because her metaverse looked really cool. It was really clear. There was nice neon lights. It gave it sort of like a darker feel, so that it was like more of like, yeah, fitness. Sometimes gyms are a bit too bright, and I'm sort of like, whereas like a little bit dimmer, having it like more atmospheric, I think it just looks cooler, and it had more of a vibe that I'd want to go for. So on the other side of the team, we had Trey, Steve, and Sam. Happy to see Sam back. I thought she was a fantastic contestant. I thought she was gone too soon, personally. But I actually thought they did a really, really good job with the billboard advertisement. I thought it could have looked really cheesy and tacky. And when they were filming it, I was really worried that it would be, because, like everyone said, Sam did look like a female Mr. Motivator. But I actually thought they pulled the billboard out of the bag, and it looked professional. It looked clean, and it looked genuinely wow. Like I was like, wow, this is the best bit of advertising they've had the entire season. Wow. It was incredible. I really, really liked it. I loved the transition from like throwing the towel at the camera to like the name of the company coming up. It just flowed so well. It felt high energy. It felt like it was a good advert. When it came to Rachel's pitch to the sort of the pitching people, I don't know, she did a really good job, actually. I thought it was a little bit messy in some areas, like when she accidentally went onto the wrong bit at the wrong time, etc, etc. It's not the end of the world. Mistakes happen. But I thought she handled herself very well. She explained herself very eloquently. There was good explanation of a business model and things like that. She handled the questions very well from the people who were there. I just thought this was a very, very good pitch, and it really put her in good stead to win this, because when you compare it to what was happening over on Phil's team, she definitely had the upper hand going into the boardroom personally. So on Phil's team, it was just a little bit chaotic. The billboard team was Verdi, Raj, and Paul B. And the problem with putting Verdi and Raj on the same team as each other means that they are constantly going to be talking over each other and trying to put their ideas forward. They were just clashing during the initial meeting, and it was just a bit jarring to listen to. And then Raj was like, oh, I think you should call the company Fill My Pies. I mean, the only reason why you would call it Fill My Pies is if he was making cream pies, but he's not, so little bit awkward, Raj, little bit awkward. But I actually thought the name and the logo that they came up with, Prestige Pies, was very good. Again, I was surprised by the logo, because I was like, this actually looks fun and cool, and I would look at that logo and be like, that's a pie shop I want to go to. It did look a little bit cartoony, but I think it was styled out well with the font and the fact that it looked a little bit sort of like, ooh, cutesy, rather than it being like an actual pie or something like that. I don't know. I just feel like it. The I can't remember who was with them. Was it Tim or was it Karen? I can't remember. But one of them was like, it looks a little bit cartoony, and I was like, yeah, but like, it's fun. It attracts your eye to it. It looks nice. Then they had to design the box for his pies because he's trying to do this whole pies by post thing. We'll get onto that a little bit later. So he wanted like a pie takeaway box. It looked nice, but he just wasn't taking any advice from like Felicia and Paul M, or Dentist Paul. So I think he was just sort of very tunnel vision in his head, not really thinking about alternative ways of doing it. He was just like, this is what I want, this is how I'm going to do it, which is fine, but there are people there to help you. Let them help. Do you know what I mean? Oh, guys, this billboard was horrendous. Like, I don't think you understand how bad it really was. Like, it was... Oh. And the reason why it was bad is because it was just not formatted right. Like, the green screen was weird, and then there was like an orange background that just didn't quite work out. The filming of it was far too campy and ridiculous for it to like be taken seriously. It was just, for want of a better word, ridiculous. And also, who let Birdie in charge of another film or another film project? Oh my god, this man is not Martin Scorsese. He is not Steven Spielberg. It was genuinely like watching... I don't even know. It was just bad. It was really, really bad. And then editing it was just an absolute nightmare. And then there's not really much else to say other than it just looked unprofessional and a little bit shit. Like, if I saw that billboard, if I saw Rachel's billboard in London, I'd be like, oh wow, that's a cool billboard. If I saw Paul's, I'd be like, someone needs to get fired for that. And somebody did get fired, Verdi, because obviously he didn't make it to the end. So why are we putting him in charge of the billboard? Anyway, we are going to move on to the pitch. Phil really slayed the pitch, actually. I was surprised. I thought he actually had a stronger pitch than Rachel, if I'm being 100% honest. I think it was very, very strong. It was very, very driven, and he made sure to get in the whole sort of like, oh, my family, my family, my family. And he also had jokes in there that made the room laugh. It just felt light, it felt good, and it had good messages. This is where we get to the whole pies by post thing. This is something that he's really wanting to push when he should be pushing opening more stores in order to expand the reach. He handled the questions well, but obviously it is still a concern for people, and people were like, not sure how that's going to pan out. So yeah, on the whole, I think Phil's team kind of let him down with the billboard, but on the whole, the rest of it was done very well, and I was actually very impressed with Phil as well. I know I've been shitting on him for the last 11 episodes, but I can kind of understand why his show, he's made it this far in the show, because he genuinely does have a good business proposition, and if I'm being 100% honest, I think it's a better one than Rachel, if I'm just being 100% honest. So we come down to the boardroom, and I gotta say, Lord Sugar was a lot nicer to these two than I've ever seen him in the process. I think it's because it's the finale and he's trying to butter them up in order to like get what he wants out of them, which is obviously like an investment, or what he wants to give the investment, but he wants like a lucrative 50-50 business market. The issue with Rachel's is they're really stuck on the fact of how does she expand her company without compromising the sort of culture that she's built up, where it's really sort of led by trainers, like they have that personal connection. How do you do that? She was like, well, we hire and train people up. And then Lord Sugar was like, well, what happens if people leave and like they want to go with the trainers? Like, how are you managing staff retention? And Rachel was like, well, currently we're doing very well on staff retention. No one wants to leave, and that's because we treat the staff very well, etc., etc. But obviously that is a problem that as the thing grows and expands, that is going to be the issue. Now, tell me why that's a problem. That is a problem because it just doesn't have much security for me. If I'm a gym is it's a very niche market because not everyone enjoys the gym. Not everyone likes going to the gym. I go to the gym. I don't enjoy it, but I go because I know I need to be slightly more active, healthier, etc. But would I go to a boutique gym that is costing me extra but asking for that personal touch? No, because I would rather go in, talk to no one and leave than have someone constantly talking to me at the gym. I go with a friend, but that's about all the talking I want to do. So for me, this is not a business opportunity that interests me, but obviously Lord Sugar might disagree. As for Phil is determined to make this pies by post thing a thing. And Lord Sugar is like, no. Make more money by opening more shops. That's smart. And then Phil says something that I think was the bit that lost Lord Sugar completely. The whole point of this is buttering him up. If he wants this money, he is going to do what it takes to get that money. He's going to do it. So what's the point in arguing with him and being like, no, I actually want to do this because you're getting a cash injection? And by all accounts, I'm not being funny, does Phil even need it? I mean, I know he made a loss this year, but like, I don't know. Anyway, he said the line that really killed it for him was when he said there's more to business than profit. And obviously in that moment, Lord Sugar went, well, no, there isn't. I'm in business to make money. And I was like, oh, Phil. Because you had the better idea. You had a foolproof, I make pies in my pie shop. I make millions off of pies. How did he muck it up? It's upsetting. So Rachel did end up winning, and that is all I've got for today. Rachel's won. It remains to be seen whether her company will do well or not. I realise how sort of disenfranchised I am, or sort of like, I wasn't connected with this final two because this final two was not the final two that I wanted. I wanted it to be Trey and Flo. And then when I heard their business propositions, I was like, well, that's fucked it, isn't it? So yeah, that is all for this year's Apprentice. I hope you guys enjoyed, and make sure to like, comment and subscribe and do all that YouTube stuff that you guys do so well. We will potentially be back with The Apprentice this time next year. Who knows? But for now, keep on ranting, and I'll see you later. Bye now.